Hello, welcome into WLOY, Loyola Radio, streaming online at WLOY.org and Campus TV channel 111.1. You're listening to After the Whistle, Loyola's premier sports talk radio show, airing every Monday from 3 to 4 p.m. and every Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. Welcome into a Friday edition of the show. And I'm your host today, Jeffrey Bozzi, alongside my co-host, Jimmy Cody. Jimmy, how's your Friday going so far?
Jeff, my Friday's going all right. How about yourself?
Pretty good. I'm just honestly trying to stay inside because I'm not sure where anyone is listening from, but here in Baltimore, it's very, very cold outside. It's supposed to go down to the teens tonight and tomorrow. Wind chill is going to be very cold. So, yeah, I guess just stay inside and bundle up if you go outside because it's cold pretty much, not just here, but I feel like throughout the Northeast. So, yeah. What do you like to do? Anything fun when you're like, I don't know, if it's cold outside, like to do anything fun inside, like watch TV? Anything specific? Do you ever have any like snow day traditions?
Sledding. That's usually the main one, I'd say.
Right.
Sledding. But are we supposed to get snow?
No, I know that we're not supposed to get snow at all. It's just I feel like it's one of those things where I don't know, you're not gonna really do anything outside.
We haven't had good snow, I feel like, in a while.
No, it's been a long time. I feel like the last time
2 years ago.
it's been snowing here was our sophomore year. So the winter of 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't really snowed much here. I mean, I'm sure other people probably north of here could say different things, but yeah, not a lot of snow here, but we're not expecting snow this weekend. But yeah, long story short, definitely gonna try to bundle up and stay inside.
Yeah,
So
certainly.
there you go. But let's go to the sports side of things. And speaking of staying inside, we're talking about some indoor sports here. We're going to the NBA, and there's a big storyline going on in the NBA right now, and it's not, I don't know, the all-star teams being revealed last night. It's LeBron James. He is going to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and eventually take over his spot as the NBA's all-time leading scorer. And I'm trying to get the number up here, but he's very close to doing so. And I think he only needs, I don't know, 60 something points to pass the record, I think.
Yeah, he
I'm
needs
trying to get the
he needs
number.
63 points.
It's 63. So that's the number I was
63.
trying to do.
Tomorrow night they got the game, ESPN against the Pelicans.
Yes.
And then they have a game Tuesday against the Oklahoma City Thunder on TNT. And then they have a game Thursday against the Bucks on TNT. So 3 nationally televised games. I don't know if it's going to happen tonight.
I don't think so.
That would be insane.
If he drops
I'll tell you
63.
I'll tell you what, though. Friday to Tuesday is a big gap. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes off tonight. Are they home for all those games? I actually don't.
So tomorrow night they're away. They're at New Orleans, and then next week when they're home against the Thunder and Bucks.
Okay, yeah, he might do it at home.
It would be nice to do it at home.
Yeah,
in front of the crowd at
is
home.
really tough. I didn't realize they were on the road, so that's gonna be really tough. But I actually really quickly want to say one thing about LeBron and kind of just Brady in general, because we didn't get to talk about Tom Brady retiring too. And this is kind of like a multifaceted conversation. So the first thing I want to say is I feel like I didn't give either of them enough credit in their career. Like they both are at a point where I can kind of appreciate their accomplishments, like most points ever. That's amazing. Great job, LeBron.
Yeah.
Great comeback with the 3-1. Like I'm somebody who always put like Jordan ahead of him, but like honestly, like what LeBron does is amazing. Like he is 30. How old is he? 38.
38.
He's 38. And he is still playing at a really high level. Obviously not where he once was, but it's not that much of a gap. I'd say he's still a top 10 player.
Definitely.
You could make the case maybe top 5. But still, the point is, LeBron James is still very good at basketball at 38, and he's been doing it for such a long time. And that's an amazing career, and we got to give credit to that. So you don't get this on accident. That's one thing that I definitely want to make clear.
No doubt. And I think the other thing too that's so impressive, talk about giving LeBron credit, is he's been so durable throughout his career. He hasn't really had
only like one year where he was injured.
Hasn't really had any major injuries.
The first year?
Yeah, that first year with the Lakers. And his other years with the Lakers, he's been hurt from time to time, but nothing too major. He just kind of missed games because he's getting up there in age.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, the saying, father time is always undefeated. It's catching up to him now, but I don't know. There's one guy that's kind of beaten it. It's him.
And there's one other guy who's definitely beaten it, and that's Tom Brady. He also
he did, and he retired for a second time. So he made it clear that this was him retiring for good.
A lot more basic of a retirement for Tom Brady. And I actually want to go into a little detail about this. Do you think Brady regrets playing maybe not one extra year? I mean, I don't know if he regrets last season, 2 seasons ago, the 2021-2022 season. But I mean, he has to think like this wasn't the greatest way to go off into retirement.
Yeah, it's a tough question. I'm glad you brought it up. I think he would probably say no, he doesn't regret it, because I think when he retired the first time, we obviously saw he came back, I think 40 days later. He said, yeah, I think my place is still here in football. I mean, if there's obviously truth to that, then I guess, if he feels like he's actually not ready to leave, then that's one thing. I think a lot of the public, like us, thought that he's going out with the divisional round playoff loss to the Rams. He had a really good year. I think he might have led the league in
He led the league in
passing yards.
He broke the league record for completions, which, by the way, he broke again this year.
Yeah.
And he also, his last pass was a touchdown pass. It was on Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
It was Evans.
Kind of forgot about that, actually.
Remember, Evans gave the ball away. Yeah, that was I think that was a great moment to walk out on, because that was the Super Bowl team. It was a great comeback. Remember, they were down the whole game.
Yeah, and you didn't even win the game, but it was just a great loss.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think there might be some truth to him saying, oh, I feel like I want to come back for another year, but I don't know. I felt like he should have retired after the 2021-22 season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that would have been the best time to retire. It didn't help that the Bucs didn't really put him in a great situation this year. So many things I just thought were a disaster from the get-go. Number one, Todd Bowles is not a good head coach. They were never going to succeed with Todd Bowles as the head coach. We've seen what he could do with the Jets. He was not good. It was kind of a disaster when Arians retired. I just felt like they had no other options, so they made Bowles.
And I think Bowles was kind of hired on short notice too.
Absolutely.
I know he had a few months to prepare, but I don't know.
I don't think
he was kind of just thrown into the fryer right away.
Yeah, so we'll see how he does this year with, I don't know, a lot of questions at quarterback. I guess Kyle Trask is literally the only quarterback they have right now.
Wow.
Well, maybe it's Kyle Trask season. But as for the rest of the Bucs, it didn't help that their offensive line had some injuries and some guys leave. It didn't help that they also had an offensive coordinator who, frankly, I didn't think was very good, and that's why he got fired, Byron Leftwich. Which is crazy, because a year ago, they were talking about this guy getting a head coaching job.
I mean, yeah, he had a lot of buzz going around the league.
He almost took the Jaguars job.
Yeah, he was in the running.
Yeah, and it was him and Doug P, and now he doesn't even have any job. He'll go be like a quarterback's coach or somewhere. He did a good job, I thought, when they had a good offensive line. But that offensive line was just so bad. I don't think anybody could overcome it, in my opinion. Brady, Leftwich, didn't matter who.
I feel like the O-line is the one thing that you need when you have Brady, because, he's not very mobile. You need to keep him upright.
You need it with any quarterback for them.
Right.
Because how can you be successful if you don't have time to get the ball out?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You need to have a strong O-line. That's why it's so amazing what Joe Burrow did last year on that Super Bowl run, because their O-line was so bad. But also at the same time, they ran the ball really well.
True. The other thing, too, that I think should not go unnoticed, and it's unfortunate that it happened, but off the field, he had to deal with the divorce.
Yeah, that was something that I always felt really bad about.
Me too. Yeah, awful.
Because, listen, I don't want to get into this and that, but the truth is, I felt like right after the divorce, not trying to judge again, I don't know the details of everything, but Giselle did have a new boyfriend, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was a part where they weren't divorced and that was still happening. And that's obviously that's something very tough to overcome, especially for the greatest quarterback of all time. It would be tough for anybody, but even he bleeds like you and I. So, he's still going to have some challenges when it comes to getting divorced by his wife. Here's the thing too, that I always felt like was the worst for him, is I felt like he was getting it was somehow his fault that they were getting divorced. We don't even know the story, but it's his fault. Like, that's the worst part. I feel like that was always so unfair.
I haven't read too much into it, so I don't know if it's right for me to, offer an opinion on it, but you would know more than me.
Infatuated with the story, and I have to tell you, really the breaking point was when Tom Brady, last year when he retired, those 40 days, what happened was him and the Dolphins were talking, and they shouldn't have been. So the Dolphins ended up losing their first round pick this year. They don't have one. They had one from San Francisco. They traded it to Denver, who traded it to New Orleans for Sean Payton. So that's a connection there.
Wow.
But Miami doesn't have their own first round pick this year. That they lost that because of tampering with Brady, because Brady was still technically like a part of the Bucs. So they're not allowed to do that. But when that came out and that got released by like Schefter and everybody else, Rappaport, whoever, when the Dolphins got hammered for that, that was, I think, Giselle finding out that Brady still wanted to play football, even though he was retired. So that was apparently like one of the big issues was him going back to football.
Yeah, that must have been a red flag for Giselle.
I guess so, but at the same time, like, dude, he's the GOAT, man.
I
He's
know.
got to be playing football. And honestly,
Yeah.
you know, who like I don't think Giselle's stopping her work to just be a part of the family. Like I understand she has a completely different job, but I don't think that I mean she still has a clothing line, she's still doing all sorts of stuff. Like she's a model, she's obviously very busy. I mean, Tom Brady's only playing football from August to January. I mean, that's only half the year. So
Yeah.
I mean,
He's got the other
I was gonna
half of the
say,
year
I was
for
gonna
it.
say, I don't know. I don't know. And it's not like he was gonna play for that much longer, realistically. Or do you play 3, 4 more years? What's the big deal? Come on.
I remember when he said that I'm going to try to play until 45. I kind of laughed. I was thinking, no way he's going to do this, but he
Yeah.
did it.
He did it.
Yeah. And the other thing too was,
He didn't go out on top, but he did it.
yeah, I don't know. The other thing too was I feel like, I don't know, when he retired the first time, I think people expected it.
Oh, we so expected it.
And the funny thing was, I think last year when he announced that he was coming back, we were all shocked because I don't know, we thought he was actually done. It was a great way to go out, blah, blah, blah. And I don't
Well,
know.
he really did it up too when he retired.
Right. Well,
mean,
I was going to say the difference between his retirement last year and his retirement this year. I mean, he wrote the long essay.
Yeah.
It was a full on thing. And then there was some mix up with the reporting from
that was
some sources.
That was a trade wreck. Yeah, Pro Football Talk. Mike Florio was saying, no, he's still talking. And he was. That was true.
And
he
then
was still talking.
This year, it was much different. Like you said, it was much simpler. I think that's what you said. And he just released an Instagram video, got right to the point. He said, I'm just going to tell you guys right here, right now, I'm retiring for good.
Yeah, I was pretty upset too when he retired because like watching that video. Did you watch the video?
I did.
Yeah, he started getting emotional when he was thanking everybody, like his teammates, the fans, the people he played against. And I don't know, like this is really weird to say as a football fan, but I can't imagine the NFL without Tom Brady.
I know he's an icon for that league.
Icon doesn't even do it. Like I'm honestly getting chills, like just sitting here thinking about like we're not gonna have a single primetime game without Brady next year.
I know.
And we're not gonna have one with there's so many guys. Rodgers, what's his status? He could be gone.
Yeah, we don't know what he's going to be doing either. But
and there's just
I know there's going to be a changing of the guard. It's just when it
the
hits,
changing of
it's
the
different.
guard is currently happening. This is a Mahomes Burrow league now.
Yeah,
and
I know the days of Manning and Roethlisberger and Brady and whoever and Breeze.
Breeze too. Yeah, Breeze retired a couple of years ago, but
Yeah.
yeah, those days are gone, and it's unfortunate. Now is the days of the Jalen Hurts and you know, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. There's so many great quarterbacks in the league that have great potential. And I think there's going to be a lot of stars. I would say, honestly, at this point in time, I think there are more good quarterbacks than we've ever had in the NFL.
Oh, there's so many. I mean, there's so many we didn't even name, but
yeah,
we could say that for another day. I mean,
exactly. There's so many good
Mahomes, Burrow, Rodgers, Allen, Herbert. I mean, there's so many. Lamar.
I mean, there's Tua. Like, there's so many decent quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence. I mean, there's countless guys you can name.
The other thing too, and I'm trying to figure out how to say this, but last year when he retired for the first time, I feel like, I don't know, if there was a chance he was going to come back, you would think, oh, he'd probably go back to the Bucs and he really wouldn't go anywhere else. But this year, even after he retired, there was some talk about, I don't know, do you think he still would have gone to another team? And there was a lot of teams in the running. Maybe, I don't know, there was rumors he was going to go to Vegas. Or San Francisco was a big one because he's from the area and they have kind of a murky QB situation right now just because of the injuries. But yeah, there was more talk this year about him leaving Tampa Bay than last year, but it was kind of interesting to me.
I saw something, and I'm not sure how true this is, but apparently it was either Tampa Bay or retirement.
Like I did see that too.
He wouldn't have went to another team, and I think that's interesting. Actually, I wonder. Like San Francisco or Miami probably would have been the ideal place just because they have phenomenal receivers, good coaching. I would put San Francisco a little bit ahead just because the O-line situation is a lot better. But
and the weapons too.
Yeah, well, I still think Miami's weapons are just as good.
Yeah, I think
maybe not the running back, but at receiver. I would
Right.
say that I don't know. I would
Yeah.
say Tyreek and
I think
Waddle are better than Ayuk.
Yeah,
and Debo.
I agree. I think Miami has like better dangerous weapons. I think San Francisco has the quantity though.
Yeah, no.
They have like
Just-
4 legit
They have
weapons.
a loaded team. They have a loaded team. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they also have a better tight end too. Can't forget about that. So I would say it's very easy.
That's not just sticky on the Dolphins. He's not that bad.
Yeah,
He's no Kittle,
he's
but
no Kittle. He's no
I
Kittle.
mean, he's not bad.
No, he's no Kittle. But I mean, he is good, yeah. And
Yeah.
also, they're very similar because they can both kind of like play out wide. Not wide, but you know, in the slot and whatnot. But Kittle's a little bit more diverse than the City guys.
Yeah, I thought it was
gives the
just
advantage to San Francisco, yeah.
it was an interesting hypothetical just to bring up how maybe he would leave Tampa Bay.
Yeah. I mean, that team just was so not good. Like, there was the one video that I saw from NFL Films this year. It was on Twitter. You can look it up. And it was a video of Tom Brady when they played against the 49ers. He's trying to pump up the whole team throughout the whole game. And this Bucks team is just lifeless. Meanwhile, this is the guy who's got 7 Super Bowls. He's 45 years old. His wife divorced him before the season. The man took family out of his Twitter bio, and he's still out there.
Still going
He's
strong.
still going strong, pushing harder than anybody, trying to get a win. And the rest of his teammates are just sitting there lifeless. Like, it was actually the saddest thing I've ever seen because the end of the clip, it's like somewhere in the second half, but they're in the middle of the second half. And he just turns to Blaine Gabbert and says, "Hey, can you just take this microphone off me?" Because that was the first game he's played in San Francisco, Northern California, in probably a while.
Right. Yeah.
Because obviously the Raiders used to be there. He played the Raiders a lot more.
If the
than he played
players are
the
not
49ers.
responding to Brady, I mean,
That's bad. That team, that's why I think that team is going to be terrible next year.
what are you gonna do? Yeah, I don't know where they're gonna go from here.
Yeah, they have a lot of problems.
I mean, they still have good skill players. I mean, there's still some good pieces in the defense. It's just not gonna be the same.
I don't know. The defense was a nightmare.
But they also took a big drop off from last year. I mean, last year they were pretty quality playoff team. This year they won a division at 8-9.
Oh, they fell off big time this year.
Barely won a division, actually. They had to win that one game against Carolina. But yeah, going forward for the Bucks, I don't know. They gotta start at QB and then go from there. Yeah. But I'm sure you saw some coaching hires news. I know that your team, the Denver Broncos, they hired a new coach early in the week.
Yeah, they did hire a new coach. They hired Sean Payton. So you want my reaction? Is that what
Sure,
you're
I
looking
mean,
for?
yeah, because he's
Well,
a proven guy,
sure.
Super Bowl winning coach, and now I know he hasn't won a Super Bowl in a while, but he's done it. He knows how to do it. And now you pair him with Russell Wilson, and he's won a Super Bowl. And I know that he's not coming off a great year, obviously, but I don't know. Do you think there's some magic or chemistry they can develop together?
Well, I look at this 2 ways. I have a long-term approach to the situation, and I have a short-term approach to the situation. Let's start with the long-term approach because I think this is more realistic. The thing. Number one, Sean Payton's a good coach. We've seen him rebuild the team in New Orleans. They were not good before he got there, right? They weren't. He built them around completely. So I have confidence in him and what he's doing. I feel like he can put a winner out there. It might take a little time, but I think he can put a winner out there for the long run. He's a coach that I trust. If things don't go great and we have to draft a young quarterback and we have to rebuild this team, he's a guy that I can trust with his decision making because he's been there, he's done that. He's been successful in this league for many times. And look what he did for Drew Brees. Look at how much he extended his career. Like, this is a guy that can coach. Secondly, I think in the long run, it's better to base this decision off of like who the coach is like for the future than it is to be like, oh, who can fix Russ? Right? Like, that's the short-term approach is like, can he fix Russ? Can he fix Russ? And I don't think it's more so about fixing Russ. I think it's more so about Russell's just got to be a little bit better and he's got to be willing to do the things that he might not want to do, but it will make the team successful. Because I felt like too many times in the past, there were opportunities where he could have, you know, thrown some passes to guys that were open, but he was looking for a deep pass. He's holding on to the ball too long. Under Sean Payton, I feel like since Sean Payton is such a respected coach in the short term, he's going to coach Russell hard. And I think if he thinks that Russell is not listening to him, then I think that he'll look to move on from him. And I'm not like the power dynamic there should favor Sean Payton over Russell Wilson. So, but in the short term, it all comes down to Russ. That's really what happens. I trust our defense. I think we have a respectable defense. The O-line certainly has to be better. That's one thing I'm looking for Sean Payton to improve in the short run because we got to find some O-line. We need a right tackle really bad. We need a left guard kind of bad. Garrett Bowles is going to be coming off injury. He's going to be our left tackle, but he was a Pro Bowler in 2021. So we have to see how he is off the injury. But I would say probably 3 of our offensive line spots need to be kind of shored up right now. So short run is like, let's see what he can get. That's the look I have from him.
Yeah, I think the Broncos are close in the sense that I know they're in a tough division. They have the Chiefs and the Chargers. They're 2 playoff teams, but I don't know. I feel like with the roster they have now, I think they can win like 10 games. I really do. I mean, they could probably win more even if, I don't know, luck falls their way. They put blah, blah, blah. I think in the short term, I think it's a good hire because I think you talk about fixing Russ. That's mainly the short term thing. I think he can. I think the question is, I don't know, do you think the skill players on offense, you think they're gonna, I don't know, kind of run it back with the same group, or do you think Sean Payton's gonna be like, oh, we need this receiver, this running back? Like, do you think there's just someone out there in free agency, maybe even the draft, where they should really be going after him, the Broncos?
Well, the draft is tough because they don't really have that many options. And they have a lot of players, especially on offense, who are under contract. So I think I can just run it back with what it is. I would watch running back though. I think that's an area they can make a move just because I don't think Javonte is going to be ready for next year. And right now, the only guy I think, or we have 2 guys on the roster for next year besides Javonte. That would be Mike Boone, who I would keep. I like. But the other guy is Chase Edmonds, and he's kind of decently big number, but it's not guaranteed. So I think he's going to be cut. But if Javonte's not there, all we have is Mike Boone. We're going to need another running back. I don't know. Maybe Latavius Murray stays. He had a decent season for an O-line that was horrible. He got still 700 yards in a short amount of time. He got action, and he is familiar with.
He's pretty physical back too.
Yeah, he's physical, but I would like to go after somebody younger. I would like to take a shot in the draft at a running back. I mean, we already hit on Javonte. I thought he was solid. Like, we do a decent job of finding like young running backs. Found Philip Lindsay, found Javonte Williams. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe take a chance on
the other thing too, I think Sean Payton, at least this is what I would hope for it to happen, just as a Broncos fan, I guess. I don't know. You could say maybe he could get Sutton or Judy the ball in more creative ways.
Yeah, well, that's the second. I want to
And
talk about
I also was going to bring up Tim Patrick because he should be coming back, right?
Yeah, Tim Patrick should be coming back, and now we have 4 receivers under contract. Sutton and Patrick are on they're not on rookie deals. They're a little bit older players. Judy is on the 4th year of his contract. They're gonna have to make a decision if they're picking up his 5th year option or not. I say yes. I think Judy's the best player on our offense. I think you have to build around him. He missed I don't know if it was 3 or I think it was 4 games this year. And so that only puts him at 13 games. And he still had 907 yards receiving. That's not horrible.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good in 13 games.
I mean, he would have easily shattered 1,000 if he plays in probably just one of the 4 games.
Yeah, exactly. So he still had a good season, and he still had a decent amount of touchdowns. He had that 1 3-touchdown game against the Chiefs. That was awesome. He's shown he could be a deep threat. Honestly, too, if you look at advanced analytical stats of football, per route run in man coverage, Jerry Jeudy has more yards per catch than Tyreek Hill.
Wow.
It's not much, it's like a decimal point, but that's still insane. And Justin Jefferson.
Wow, that's even more impressive.
I don't know. I think Judy's the guy. I think that he's going to be our number 1. I would think that the offense is going to be built around a ground game and then looking to go down the field. That's what I would think with Judy. And also, too, with Sutton and Patrick and Hamler, those are the other 3 guys that they have. That's a great receiving core if those are all.
I forgot about
guys.
KJ Hamler.
So that's all 4 guys. They still have 13 million in cap space, even though I hear all the time how we're in cap hell because of the Russell Wilson deal. But there is still 13 million. They can cut some other guys. Maybe we can make a move, I think, in some areas. But at the same time, I think all this doesn't matter if Russell doesn't improve. At the end of the day, the short term is about Russell. Does he want to be coached? Does he want to work hard? Is he willing to be a good teammate? Is he willing to, if he doesn't have to be the guy cooking, and maybe he's just the guy who's stirring the pot a little bit instead, maybe we're asking him to take a smaller role and just lean in our run game. I think the team can be a lot more successful because at the end of the day, I don't know if we can trust Russell right now because he just made too many mistakes last year, particularly with turnovers.
Well, and we never really saw that from Russell Wilson early in the career. He was
I don't know.
God, it didn't really throw a lot of picks.
Well, I always think about that one NFC championship game where 4 picks against the Packers and they came back. And it was great at the time because they played well enough in the second half to get the win. But at the same time, I mean, my lord, I mean, he does throw some bad picks.
He does.
He does. He really
I
does.
just thought, generally speaking, during his tenure in Seattle, I guess maybe besides last year in Seattle, because it wasn't the greatest of years, we know. I just felt like he
played so much better though
he
that
took
year
care of the ball
than
for the
he
most
did,
part.
yes, than he did with us. He didn't have the turn.
Right. And then he goes to Denver and we just, I don't know, it feels like he just fell off the face of the earth. And
Yeah.
he was like a completely different player. And I feel like he can get back to what he used to be in
It's
Seattle.
only 1 year removed, right? So that's the reason that I think we're looking at this with a positive look.
Yeah, I don't know if changing divisions or conferences or settings matters,
Well,
but
you want to know what I think the biggest
might.
things were? One, the O-line was horrible last year for Denver. Two, the coach who called the plays was the worst NFL coach in history. That's not even a joke. That man was the worst NFL head coach in the history of head coaching. Like I'm putting that is my submission for worst head coach ever. Nathaniel Hackett. He was a joke. So I'm just ready to throw last season out and just run it back and just see what happens. If he stinks, he stinks. Cut him. I don't care. It's not my money.
Yeah, I think the other thing too to bring up about Sean Payton is, do you think he's gonna have a better impact on the defense? Because the defense has probably been the backbone of the Broncos the last few years. I feel like that's always the one thing that they can rely on. I mean, every time they go out there, they're probably gonna, I don't know, have a good day on the defensive side of the ball. But you think he's gonna take that defense to, I don't know, maybe greater heights than it already is? I don't know how much better they can
Sean
get.
Payton?
Yeah,
Well,
Sean Payton.
The defensive coordinator situation is kind of interesting because he met with our coordinator from last year, Ajiro Avira, and they had a meeting and he didn't get hired. But today there's some rumors that they're interested in Brian Flores from the ex-Dolphins head coach. So
Okay.
as the D coordinator. So those are two options right now. I'll tell you what, I really, really, really want Ajiro Avira to stay.
I think I would too if I was in your
Just
position.
just keep things the way they are. They're kind of working. Think about how horrible the offense was, and we still had a top five. I think it was really like three, but whatever. It's top five defense at least. That's not up for discussion. And that's a good place to be. You want that again.
Yeah, I mean the defense, if they're giving you chances to win, I mean you can't really ask much more of the offense to do what they have to do.
Yeah, and I just hope we see some improvement under Russ with Sean Payton, and I hope that we will, and I think that we will, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to make the playoffs. And at the end of the day, I don't know how much improvement it's going to be because I think there's a very high bar for Russ, and I think if he's anywhere under that, I think there's going to be some major questions about his future.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's a good approach.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up the other coaching hire from this week. The Houston Texans hired DeMeco Ryans, formerly the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator. He is gonna be now the Texans head coach, and he played for the Texans actually during his career. I think he was a linebacker. He also played for the Eagles. That's why I knew who he was. But yeah, seems like he's a respected guy. I know that the Texans are obviously probably the laughing stock of the NFL right now. I mean, I think they're clearly the worst team in the NFL, and they have a long way to go. But I don't know. Do you think hiring a guy like Ryans could, I don't know, change the culture immediately? I think that's probably step one, and then they got to find a QB, which they'll probably will in the draft. But I don't know. Think it's a good hire for the Texans?
Well, you got to start somewhere. So obviously the 49ers assistant coaches has kind of been the new trend. We've seen it with Saleh. We've seen it with Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins. He had a good first season in Miami. And I think that's kind of why the Texans are going back there. But, here's the thing. They got to get some talent in there. And they have some draft picks that they have two again this year. From the Deshaun Watson trade.
Right.
I would pick somebody with a higher pick. And then I would try and trade back with that second one because they just need so much. Even if you bring a quarterback in there, what good does it do him without an O-line? And what good does it do without any receivers to throw the ball to?
Right. I think the example of that would be Trevor Lawrence in his first year. He had no O-line.
And
he was running for his life.
And a horrendous coach.
And I don't think he had much on the outside either. But you saw in his second year, the O-line got a little bit better. They signed some free agents on the outside, and it did kind of wonders for them as they made the playoffs. So, yeah, I think if you draft a QB, let's say Bryce Young, if they get Bryce Young, I think you got to surround him, or maybe, I don't know if it's CJ Stroud. I got to do more research, but I'm just naming those two guys because they're probably going to be high picks. You got to get them
those,
help.
those are the big guys, right?
I mean, assuming they get one of the two of them, I'm not sure if they prefer one over the other, but I think you got to surround them with talent, like you said. You can't just leave them back there, and you kind of just have to, I don't know, make their jobs easier. So I think the key for D'Amico Ryans is you got to get the QB that he wants. And the other thing too, I don't think they have an offensive coordinator right now. So I think that's another important
who's calling the plays for them?
thing that they need to figure out.
yeah.
They need to hire someone that D'Amico Ryans will get along with and that he likes.
Not only that, but somebody who they can have an idea of like which of the two quarterbacks they want. Because long term, you're thinking like, well, we want a guy who we think we can be successful with.
Right. And I don't know why I'm bringing this up now. I just kind of thought it was interesting because the Patriots hired Bill O'Brien as their offensive coordinator, and he was at Alabama. So I don't know if you'd be familiar with kind of the scheme that they run down there. Because if I don't know, hypothetically, if he was available and you know that Bryce Young's sitting there, I mean, if they were to hire him, I know they can't because he got a job, but I don't know. I feel like
Oh, it would have been like ideal.
it would have been ideal because it would have been a little familiarity there.
Maybe.
It obviously can't happen.
Yeah, it can't happen.
Not sure if the Texans would hire someone from Bama or Ohio State or someone in that realm. I don't know.
I think they'll keep it more so of the NFL way, just because D'Amico Ryans seems like he's more like got that NFL kind of touch to him, especially coming up through the Shanahan tree. I would be surprised if they run something similar to what Kyle Shanahan runs, but we've seen that's not always successful in other places. Like that's what the Broncos tried to run, what the Jets tried to run this year. And it's not always the easiest, those West Coast offenses. They don't always work that great where you're trying to pass to open up the run. But at the same time, there's so many challenges with a young quarterback because they're gonna make mistakes. They're gonna not be great. Like no quarterback walks on the field their rookie year and is just instantly great. Like there's gonna be a lot of dumb decisions.
Oh, there's growing pains for sure.
Especially on a roster as untalented as the Texans.
Right. And I think the importance of emphasizing D'Amico Ryans hiring an offensive coordinator is so important.
A good one.
He's not really an offensive guy. He's a defensive guy. And you'd think, oh, he could probably kind of run the defense himself. Obviously, he would run it with the DC, but you think, I don't know, he would have more of a firm on the defense. You'd probably think, oh, he needs to hire an important offensive coordinator.
Let me go one step further with you and compare this to another situation in the NFL. So the Jets, 49ers assistant coach, drafted a quarterback very high and didn't really work out.
Yeah.
Because the OC hire was not great. And the skill players around were okay at best. But in your mind, that has to be a direct concern, seeing that not work, seeing the Texans could possibly not work. You don't want to mimic that situation because it was a dumpster fire.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I feel like with the Jets, everything around the quarterback is actually pretty good. I mean, you look at the receivers, pretty good. Running backs, pretty good.
They have one good receiver.
O-line's good. Yeah.
I wouldn't say, like they've one. Yeah, Wilson's a good receiver.
Yeah. Maybe more so the running backs.
Their running backs, I would say, do a good job. Yeah.
And the defense, top 5, probably. It's just the quarterback's obviously the most important position. So you got to get that solidified.
And that's true for so many teams. Think about all the teams that are looking for a quarterback right now. Carolina's got a great defense. They got a good whole line. They still can't do anything because they can't find a quarterback.
Yeah, it starts there.
Yeah.
We'll see.
There's so many teams looking for quarterbacks. I mean, listen, I feel like.
Welcome back to WLOY, Loyola Radio, streaming online at WLOY.org and Campus TV channel 111.1. You're listening to After the Whistle with Jeffrey Bazzi and Jimmy Cody. And now we're going to switch gears and move into some college hoops. And Jimmy, the Loyola Greyhounds, they have a big game tomorrow night here on campus. They host Boston University for another Patriot League showdown. And coming into this game, both teams have a conference record of 3-8. And last time out, the Hounds, they took a tough loss up at Colgate on Monday night, 76-63. And Jimmy, I'm not sure if you caught some of the game or if you watched all of the game. Maybe you did, but I thought we actually looked pretty good for the majority of the game, but we just didn't have enough in the end, and we ended up just kind of faltering down the stretch. But I don't know, was there anything in that game that you thought, oh, maybe we could build on it and then maybe we could use it for tomorrow night's game?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, when I look at this Loyola team in the future, I see a team that's just got to keep getting a little bit better, right? So that's what I want out of them.
Yeah, I think we see it in stretches. You just want to see it for 40 minutes.
Yeah, and I felt like they played a good game on Saturday, specifically on defense.
I think so too. I think they're really talking a lot and having good communication.
The one thing I will say against Loyola, or and I'm sorry, not against Loyola, against Colgate that Loyola struggled with was again, I just felt like we were getting looks, but we just couldn't put them in the basket. And it's just like I feel like we have that same problem so many times. Would you agree?
Oh, I agree. And I think it's even more frustrating when you get those kind of looks in the paint.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
We get those
we got a lot of good looks in the
a lot of
paint.
good cuts to the paint.
But I think you're right. We get a lot of open threes, and I don't know, some days they're falling, some days they're not. But when they're not, it's frustrating. When they are, it's great. You feel like every time the shot's going up, it's probably going to go in. But when those shots are not falling, it's frustrating because you're thinking, oh, when are we going to make a three? But yeah, against teams like Colgate, you have to score. But yeah, hopefully they can beat BU tomorrow because I feel like, I don't know, it's a team that they probably should beat. Because you saw that last week when they played Bucknell, they handle their business, they got to win. And this is a team that's not that much better than Bucknell. So I think there's another opportunity to get a win. I hope they can do it because I think the key is you need Deion Perry and Jalen Andrews and Kenny Jones. Those got to be probably the three guys. But you also need help from Golden DK and Alonzo Faure and Falco Illich and others.
Yeah.
And Chris Kazemka too.
Yeah, no, honestly, like
you never want to chip in.
We need everyone to chip in. And one of the things that we had on Saturday, everybody was scoring. That's
Right.
what we need that again. We need everybody to score. Everybody has to be like contributing to the offense. Because if it's five guys playing offense, it makes it a lot more easier and we can get some better looks.
Right. And I think that's also a product of just moving the ball. I think if you're moving the ball a lot, I mean, everyone's going to touch the ball, whether it's in the paint or on the outside. I feel like if you get people involved, I think just touching the ball maybe once or twice, it gets your attention a little bit up. So I think that would definitely help the Greyhounds tomorrow. And yeah, I'm looking here. They have some tough games next week against Army and Lehigh, but you know what? If they get a win Saturday, they have some good momentum going into those games. Who knows? I think Saturday's game is important because it feels like a game that they cannot let slip away. So hopefully the Hounds can get it done on Saturday.
Yeah, I hope they get it done too, because we want to see some wins around here, and that's what we all are rooting for.
No doubt. So do you have anything else to add to the Hounds before we go to the national slate? Or
no, nothing in particular. Just hoping for a good game tomorrow against BU. 5 o'clock.
yeah,
Reeds Arena.
be there or be square.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess not to mention the Patriot League action tomorrow. We have some great games across the top 25 slate tomorrow in college basketball. And I'm just looking here. You got Kansas and Iowa State facing off 12 o'clock. You have Auburn and Tennessee facing off at 2 o'clock. You got Miami and Clemson facing off at 3. You have Purdue and Indiana. They will score off at 4 o'clock. And then you have a late night showdown out on the West Coast between Gonzaga and St. Mary's at 10:30. So a lot of good games going on here tomorrow. And yeah, Jimmy, I'm not sure if you've seen a lot of college basketball recently, but I don't know, is there one team in particular where you think, oh, they're definitely the best team in the country? Because we've seen number one change a lot this year. Purdue is there right now, but we've seen Houston there. We've seen other teams up there as well. But I don't know, is there one team that really sticks out to you where you look at them and you watch them and you're thinking, oh, they're really freaking good? I mean, is there a team that sticks out to you at all?
Well, listen, it's easy to say Purdue because they're 22-1, but I watched them play against Rutgers and frankly wasn't impressed. I felt like they're a team who can easily be stopped. If you have a good game plan against them, you're doing a good job, especially if you have a good defensive big man against their defensive big man. Okay,
Zach Edey.
Edey, right? Okay, yeah. So I don't know. I think that's kind of a best way to defend them, but I would by no means consider Purdue to be the best team in college basketball. I do think there's a lot of teams that can beat them. But no, do you think that there's like this clear number one? I'm not really sure if there is.
I don't think there's a clear number one. I think Purdue is definitely in that conversation, but I think there's a lot of other teams in that conversation that could be argued to be the best team. I mean, you look at Houston, they've been pretty good. Alabama, I think, has been really good. I think Alabama's a really sneaky good team.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really sneaky at number 4, but I feel like they don't really get talked about too much.
Yeah.
But you also have
but they're in the SEC and they just got killed by Oklahoma.
Yeah, so that definitely raised some eyebrows a little
Yeah,
bit.
that definitely raised some eyebrows. I mean, I don't know how you can. That's such an insane game. You just never would have expected that.
Yeah, and you also have the two Kansas schools. They've been having really good years. Kansas State and Kansas. They're 7 and 8 in the poll, respectively. I mean, they're right there. Even Arizona, number 5, they're a pretty good team. I mean, there's a lot of good teams. I feel like there's not really a clear cut number one. And I think that is why March Madness is going to be so fun. I mean, we all love it just for the entertainment, the upsets, filling out the bracket, tracking the bracket, whatever. But I think when you're in a year where there's not really a clear cut team, because I think the last few years, I think Gonzaga has been the clear cut best team, but we've seen them falter in March Madness. I think that might be just the nature of the tournament, but I don't know. This year, I feel like everyone's kind of not just come back down to earth, but I feel like everyone's kind of on the same playing field.
Breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Kyrie just said he wants to be traded.
No way.
Yeah, Kyrie Irving just said he wants to be traded. Adrian
Wow.
Wojnarowski just said that.
That's a bombshell being dropped.
Lakers got to be all in, right? Like Lakers have to be going for him.
I mean, yeah, let's talk about that right now.
Yeah, we have to talk about that right now. That is insane. I did not see that coming because Brooklyn has been playing so well, right?
Yeah, they've been.
Yeah, this is it. This is the tweet. If you want me to read it,
consistently up there.
Brooklyn Nets star Kyrie Irving has told the franchise that he wants to be traded ahead of Thursday's deadline. Source tells ESPN. Yeah, I would think Lakers have to be like the number one team, but obviously they just made a trade for Rui Hachimura. But could you see Russ maybe going to New York? Because like that would have to happen. I think for cap purposes, right?
Yeah, I think so. They'd have to figure out something with the money there, but I would think the Lakers are definitely going to be all in. And it's funny actually that this is kind of resurfacing again because in the offseason, we were talking about how KD requested a trade and we thought, I don't know, it depends on where he goes, but maybe Kyrie could be shipped off too. And I don't know if he want to play without KD, but this is crazy just to come out of nowhere. And now that he just wants out because they've had a good year. I don't know what the deal is. Why would he want out?
I don't know.
I'm so confused.
Every time you think that he is going to be doing something, he just goes and does the complete opposite. I thought they were going to be on their way to a championship contending season, right?
Yeah, they kind of are.
Here the other day, it said he's playing so great. You know, Simmons is playing great defense. He's doing a good job with the assists. He's getting everybody the ball. Seth Curry's playing well. Nick Claxton's playing well. All these other guys. What's the other guy? Thomas. What's his first name?
On the Nets?
Yeah. Or no, I'm sorry, not Thomas.
They do
Bruce
have
Brown. Bruce Brown.
Also, Bruce Brown's actually not on the Nets. He's on the Nuggets, but they do have a Cam Thomas.
Cam
Maybe
Thomas.
that's who you're referring to.
Thomas. Yeah, Cam Thomas is who I was referring
They have I'm not sure if you were thinking of him, but they have Royce O'Neal. He's a 3-and-D guy.
Yeah, Royce O'Neal's
He's
another one.
solid.
But point is they have some young talent, and this is just a horrendous thing to happen to them in the season.
And also Durant being out. I mean,
that do from this. Like you obviously have to trade him, but it's like who wants him? No, because like I don't know if that many teams are going to be interested.
Yeah,
I would really only think there's like a handful that really are interested.
I mean, when you say the Lakers, I think they're clearly the team that jumps out in front of the others.
They're like I don't know if they have the most that they can give though. I just know that they're going to be the most interested.
Right, and the last few years they've given up a lot of first-round picks, especially to get Anthony Davis.
We know it's funny. I actually saw a report on my Twitter feed literally before I was coming down here. It was saying the Lakers are not saving any of their cap space for 2023 anymore. Like next summer, they're not doing that. They said that's not a plan. Like they're not leaving stones unturned because I think they know probably LeBron. He doesn't have that many years left, and if he's playing that good, you got to make a run when you have him.
Right.
So I think that's kind of their plan. I mean, that's really all you can do until it leaves. Is just keep trying to make runs.
Right. But, and maybe that Hachimura trade was kind of a sign that maybe they would kind of want to go for it a little more. But yeah, now that Kyrie is going to be probably on the market for the next week. And the other thing to mention too is the trade deadline's next Thursday. So this is probably going to happen in the next 6 days.
Yeah.
They have to get it done.
Out of nowhere too. That's the thing that I by far just cannot process. It's just like, what happened? What happened?
I don't understand where this came from. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be something that comes out.
Do you think Kyrie was just kind of playing the mindset of, all right, I'm going to act good, and then when the time rolls around, I'm getting the heck out of here? He might have just did that.
Maybe.
He might have just played his cards right and just been like, I actually never wanted to be here, but he might have realized it might have been just best to just shut up and then go rogue.
It's very possible that he would want to do that.
Yeah, it is very possible.
This is completely out of nowhere. This is a bombshell being dropped
I mean,
on the
this
NBA
is
world.
literally insane.
I mean, I just don't understand. Unless it's something personal, it can't be team related, right? Maybe there's some beef in the locker room that we don't know about. I have no idea. But the team is doing really well. I think they're fourth in the East. They've been as high as second in the East. They've kind of been humming along, and they've had this drama-free season for the most part.
What's Durant doing?
I know. I don't know what he's thinking.
Yeah, it's like, imagine Durant leaves too, and then all they're stuck with is just Simmons. That would be a disaster. Oh my God, that would be a disaster. That might be where they're going.
Well, and I'll bring it up again, and I know I brought it up a few minutes ago, but last summer Durant wanted out, and now Kyrie wants out. And I don't know if that is kind of an after effect of Durant saying, "Oh, I don't want to be here." Maybe Kyrie's thinking, "Oh, if he doesn't want to be here, I don't want to be here either."
Honest question: do you just trade both?
I mean, if they want to blow it up and they don't think they can win with the roster they would have without a Kyrie Irving,
I don't think they can.
I don't think they can either. They would get so much for both.
To the same team. I would make two separate trades.
Yeah, I think I would make two separate trades, but I'm just saying if they trade both, I'm not saying they have to be included in the same deal, but they would get a boatload of picks from whatever team they trade Kyrie to. And if they were going to trade KD, they would probably get the same thing. And then some. They would probably get a all-star level talent back. Maybe two.
I would picks, players, and one star.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think.
You need at least a couple of solid players because you need a team now because they just don't have.
Right.
They will literally have.
I'll tell
Simmons
you.
And Royce O'Neal.
Yeah, I mean that's nowhere near enough. That's not going to do it. They're going to have to blow it up if they trade both. I mean, assuming that they trade one, they're going to trade both.
I think if Irving's gone.
If Kyrie goes, KD might.
KD says, "I really want to stay here," because KD has a no trade clause. But I'm sure he would want to go somewhere else because he's already requested a trade once.
So right, we've seen this movie before.
We've already seen this movie before. So that's why I think that the idea of KD getting traded is not that crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it's that crazy, especially now knowing that Kyrie wants out.
I don't know if Kyrie has a no trade clause or not. I'm not 100% sure. But I mean, this is an insane. This changes the NBA for the rest of the year. If Kyrie Irving goes to a contender, like a team that is contending, he can either rise them to absolutely being the best team in the league, or he can make them crumble. Kind of not essentially all on him, but we've seen teams crumble in the past with Kyrie.
Right. And
listen, he is a great player, but for whatever reason, things just don't work sometimes.
Oh, definitely. And you brought up how the Lakers are probably the one team where you're thinking, oh, they're definitely going to make a run. I would think the Dallas Mavericks could be another team because they've actually explicitly said, and this is in the last 2 weeks.
The Brunson loss.
Right. They want another star next to Luka. And I agree. They need another star if they want to contend. And it's funny because last year they made that run to the Western Conference Finals. And it was basically Luka and Brunson and then a bunch of 3-and-D guys. And this year it's really just Luka without Brunson and a bunch of 3-and-D guys. And they've been kind of hovering around 500. They're not really at the top of the standings, but they're kind of in that middle pack. I think if they got Kyrie, they could really ascend themselves towards the top.
There's other teams too that are looking for stars. I mean, I've seen the Clippers. There's been some rumors they might go after like Van Vliet or Lowry to shore up their team.
Right. I think the Raptors are another team. They could be sellers at the deadline.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of attractive pieces such as Van Vliet and Siakam and Gary Trent Jr.
I don't think Kawhi would go to the Clippers, but he does have a relationship with Ty Lue, so it's possible.
Yeah.
I could see him going to either LA team. I could see him going to, I mean, hear me out. What do you think like Miami?
It's possible.
I think it's possible. I think they need an upgrade at point guard, if I'm being honest with you. I think they could totally use it. And I think Kyrie would he would probably be a better player than Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler would become the second option on that team.
Which is a scary thought
Which is a scary thought, number one. But I also don't know how the power dynamic would work there with Kyrie.
Yeah, I mean, they
could you see a young team maybe taking a chance at Kyrie?
Depends.
Like maybe a team that's...
Well, how about a young team that's a contender? How about Memphis?
I don't think Memphis.
They wouldn't do it. I
Memphis
mean,
wouldn't go after him.
I actually don't think as a
I-
basketball fit, that'd be kind of weird with Ja.
No,
I don't think it would work.
I have a different team in mind, actually. This would actually probably be the worst franchise you can go to in the NBA, though. That would be the Kings.
The Kings.
I mean, they have a point guard, right?
Hey, they're actually third in the West.
They're third in the West. But you can't tell me that De'Aaron Fox to Kyrie Irving is not.
Oh,
an
Kyrie's
improvement.
way
It's
better.
absolutely an improvement.
100%.
So with him, with Sabonis, you could probably get better.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, it's like they would have to give up picks. They probably have to give up Fox. Fox would be to the Nets, which I think the Nets might do. But I could kind of I see more of a younger team kind of making this deal because I think the Nets are going to want they're going to want assets.
Right.
Listen, look at some of those teams that are stuck in like purgatory, like the Hawks and the Hornets. I mean, I don't think the Hawks will give up anything because Trae Young's a good player.
They kind of have 2 point guards. They have DeJounte Murray as well.
As well. I forgot about that. But there's I'm just saying teams like that are kind of stuck in that middle of the road area. I don't know. Very interesting.
I have another team in their
Jazz.
contender. The Jazz could be an interesting
Yeah.
one. They're kind of in the middle. They're not good enough to win a title, but they were trying to tank, but they're clearly not tanking yet. But
Yeah.
how about the Suns? Because
And
Chris Paul's been
Chris Paul-
rumored to be traded at the deadline. I feel like you could do a swap there and maybe Phoenix tax on another bench player or two, and then maybe, I don't know, first round pick, some combination of that. I don't know. I feel like that would make the Suns better. They've kind of had a surprisingly bad season. I feel like they need some energy there. They're getting Devin Booker back on Tuesday, so I don't know. That'd be kind of good timing. I mean, that's a contender. They were in the finals 2 years ago. They can get there. I don't know.
They've just been so bad this year. That's kind of been the part
Yeah.
that's surprising. I mean, this is insane. Like, here's the thing. Obviously, remember the whole Kyrie, Katie sweepstakes. We remember that. I remember that summer like it was yesterday. I remember my whole lead up was step 1, get Zion. Step 2, get Katie. Step 3, get Kyrie. Like, we're gonna have a super team. That was what I wanted for the Knicks. I am so happy that we did not sign Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. That has not been worth it for Brooklyn at all. At all.
No, the best thing they've gotten out of it was a second round appearance, and they lost to the Bucks in 7 games.
Yeah, when Durant's foot was on the line.
Yeah. That was the best season that they've had.
That was 2020, or was that
The 2020, 2021 season.
Okay.
You're right. Yeah. Mhm.
So that was my bad, 2021. That was honestly like the peak of this run.
Yeah, and you
and
thought
this is
when they got
something
Harden,
worse.
it would go higher.
Oh yeah, I forgot Harden was there too. Yeah, this Nets thing is taking a lot of twists and turns.
And then you saw rock bottom last year. They lose first round, not just lose, but they get swept by Boston.
Swept. Yeah.
It's bad.
It is. I think it's rock bottom. I think it is definitely rock bottom for the Nets right now. There's no doubt. I think they have no choice but to blow up the team in the long run. That's kind of the decision they have to make.
Oh,
Unless they
100%.
can get like a signature star back in a trade. Like if they trade Kyrie, but they give KD another star to play with, then maybe they can still do that. But
Or maybe they get 2
that-
fringe all-stars. I just don't know.
yeah, but
Because say you bring up Miami. What if they traded Miami and then Brooklyn wants, I don't know, Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero? I don't think they're going to do that, though.
they might give Hero back, but
And they give them Hero, Duncan Robinson, and like 2 firsts. I don't know. I'm just throwing out hypotheticals.
I know. I'm not really sure what the market's going to be, especially because this is a week before the deadline. A little bit. No, it's Thursday, right? So it's less than a week before the deadline. Probably the best timing, to be honest with you, just because now it's the weekend and
They can kind of get moving on it.
gotta get moving.
deal.
Probably the best thing, though. At least it's not getting elongated and values just decreasing like it was with Simmons.
Right.
That was kind of the thing that Philly always had a problem with. And Harden, when he was in Brooklyn, his value just kept going down because he just was out on the court not playing defense.
Yeah. And I'm thinking here, I know we're kind of running out of time here,
Yeah.
but I don't think he's going to get traded to a Eastern contender because you look at the top teams in the East, Boston, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Philly, Cleveland, Miami. They all have pretty good point guards or really good point guards. So I don't think one of those teams would take him. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I'll reword that. They would obviously take Kyrie if it's the right deal, but they don't really need a point guard. Now, I don't know. Would you want to go to a team that's, I don't know, not contending? I don't know. I wouldn't think that. I mean, if he's in the right mind, I feel like he would want to contend. So I feel like he would probably go out west, but I don't know. It all depends on the right deal and kind of what he wants to, and also if the Nets can make it happen. So, oh my God, there's a lot of dominoes that are going to fall, and a lot of things have to happen. But it sounds like there's going to be a trade. I'm just stunned at the news. I just could not believe that you just said that out of nowhere.
Yeah, I know that was definitely breaking news for sure.
So yeah, we'll probably talk more about this on Monday and then maybe next Friday as well. Maybe he's on a new team by then. We'll see. And maybe LeBron will have the scoring record by then as well. I mean, at least he's on pace to do so. So
Yeah,
I guess we'll just sit back and relax. We'll also preview the Super Bowl next week as we'll be finally entering Super Bowl week. So is there anything else that you want to add before we log off for the
go
weekend?
Greyhounds this weekend.
Go Greyhounds for sure. And also lacrosse season is starting next week. So we'll get into that as well. But yeah, big one for the Greyhounds tomorrow against BU. So thank you always for listening. Have a great weekend, and we will be back on Monday.